message system before at the beginning of the day, which was just a bit of a recap, which is a system which sends text messages out to homeless people based on what they're interested in. It might be sports, it might be jokes today, or it might be free events in the area. And our group decided to try and see how we could help that project and maybe supercharge it a little bit, because at the moment 20% of Connections users are using your message, and we wanted to try and sort of help see if we could increase that as much as we could. And one of the big issues that we found was that, yeah, no pun intended, was that a lot of homeless people don't have any credit at all on their phones, and in order to sign up, they would need that, because they would need to send a text message, or that would be one obstacle. And there are other ways to sign up, but one of the solutions we came up with to get around that was like, cool, because many people have a lot of credit on their phones, and yet homeless people have no credit. So we sort of thought, well, if we could use that credit, that would be an excellent way to work. And Enrico, I think, are you okay to explain?
So the basic idea is that, like, lots of people have said 300 messages per month or 500 messages per month, and only use, I don't know, 50, 100 or something like that. So could we somehow create a mechanism for passing the credit on, either to charities that would then be able to use this text message credit to send messages to people in need, to clients, or even directly to clients to allow them to start a conversation with, for example, Connections at St. Martin's. So how to do this in practice, we got two ideas. One is more boring, because one is, well, but maybe it's actually the one that is going to work eventually, which is go and talk with O2 and Orange and Vodafone and whatnot, and basically ask them to start this program of allowing people to donate a certain amount of messages per month, or whatever is left over of their messages per month, to charities that can use that. But obviously they would need to agree to that. Will they? I think that if there is pressure, if there's maybe a Twitter campaign, that could be the case, because we all know that in reality all these hundreds of messages are quite meaningless, and it's just like a sort of a fluff for companies to quantify that, etc., etc. So it would be nice to be able to put the foot down and say, well, I have 500 messages, I want to decide how to use them and who to give them to. The other option, which is a bit more perhaps attractive to the hacker community, is, I'm sure some of you would have heard of the concept of botnets. So the idea is that if you download on your mobile phone app, an app, say an iPhone or Android app, then you would have a server that basically would replace SMS gateways. So right now, for example, Connection at St. Martin's sends messages by paying so many pence per message. Instead of doing that, you could send all your, they could send these messages to this free messaging, free SMS server. Then, if I decide to install this app, my app would connect to the server and check if there are any messages that need sending. And my app would know that I have 100 messages that this month I'm not going to use, or I want to donate for this purpose. So my phone would download this message, and secretly also the number that they need to be sent to. I, as the user, would not see that. And then basically my phone would send these messages using my free messages to the people that need to receive them. And so would do many, many other phones. And basically you would send all these messages for free, or using actually what I already paid for, and so I'm entitled to use.
1 minute.
So we didn't go very far in terms of implementing this. We think that, like, most of the technology is actually there. The only catch is obviously you need something really robust in terms of, like, privacy, because all these phone numbers are really, really sensitive information, and you need to be smart about how to handle that. You need to be smart about how to send messages from a phone without disseminating the number, because if I may be naive enough that I would say, okay, it's fine for my number to go around, but someone who has a lot more experience than me told me that that's a really, really crazy idea. And so we need to find a way to obfuscate the number, etc., etc. But we heard that it should be possible. So what we did for the rest of the day was to sort of try and move one step forward with the UWIN project, and maybe you can say a couple of words about that.
Well, basically, like I've been making a sort of interface to help the work that Ben and Chris are doing. The idea of it is just that it sort of pulls in as much automatically scraped information from the web as possible to do with like free events, workshops, jokes, etc. And it's also got an area where it takes stuff off Twitter, so people, anyone in the public can tweet with a hashtag, and that'll end up into the interface. And then Ben and Chris sit there and use it to schedule text messages for next week. So what we did is basically like work through some more scrapers and get in some more information. We found a really good resource for jobs and a really good way of doing sports results. So basically that means that like hopefully we can actually open like sort of 2 new channels of information that we didn't have yesterday and actually we sort of can have tomorrow. So it's not the most exciting or glamorous thing, but it's moved this project on like I think really quite significantly. So, yeah.